the indication of how I spelled Chris's name is any idea of what we're going to do, I might make a lot of mistakes today. So stay on your toes. You might pick up some dandy ones. I knew that it wasn't Chris back there that spelled Chris wrong, right, Chris? We are a prepared people because we're going to prepared place. And so we plan for that prepared place. And we know that failure to plan is planning to fail. And so we come to this time of the year and we say, what can we do to make sure we are prepared? If, for example, you only had today left to live, and you could invite somebody to eat with you tonight, let's say a farewell meal, who would you invite? The time that Jesus was walking in Jerusalem and Judea, there was a group of people called the Qumran community that were preparing for the Messiah. And they would not invite anybody to their table that was lame or blind or poor or paralyzed or maimed in any way, because they believed that somebody like that was cursed by God. Ironically, Jesus was saying, if you had to invite people to your meal, to your dinner table, this is who you should invite. When you give a feast, invite the poor, the maimed, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed. You see, preparing like we would do normally using our minds, our human intellect, might not be the very best thing. I've seen some incredibly clever people make some very unwise decisions because they didn't think as God would have us think. And so today I just want to talk about preparation in three different ways: your head, your heart, and your hand. I want to ask you, in your minds, live your life numbering. In your hearts, live your life lit. And in your hands or action, live your life listening. This is the way we can be prepared. And I can't give you a legalistic list, because for each one of you, there'd be a different thing that you needed to be doing. For instance, a young rich ruler would run up to Jesus and say, Lord, what must I do to inherit eternal life? And Jesus will list 4 commandments. He'll say, wonderful. These I've done from my youth up. And Jesus would say, yep, but one thing you still need to do, go and sell all that you have, distribute it amongst the poor, and come follow me. And he went away sad because he was very wealthy. You see, what God asked him to do was very different from what he would ask me to do. Right? So we got to pay attention to this, looking at these 3 areas. And let's begin with our minds, starting with Psalms chapter 90, verse 12. And while we're there, this is the title, Covenants for 2021, to live life from now as if the Lord will come within the hour. And what I mean is from now, I don't mean from Friday. If you don't know what I mean by that, read Andrew Ellis's article in the newsletter. Excellent article. You don't want to start on a specific day. You want to start when you've got the need. So right now, if you find a need coming in your way to change your life, please decide to do something different. Well, if you turn to Psalm 90, verse 12, you'll be looking at the oldest psalm in the Bible. The Psalms is divided into different books. This is the 4th book, and it's the first psalm in the 4th book. And yeah, Moses is saying from the generations of Adam, he's saying, you know what? We've always messed up. We like the grass of the field. We're here today, tomorrow we're gone. He says we will leave this world with a sigh. He says if we're blessed, we'll live 70 to 80 years. That's the span of our lives. And when we compare ourselves to God, God is righteous, God is holy, and who are we? We are nothing. And it's out of this that he makes this conclusion. And I think I've lost the thing, Andrew. There we go. Probably just this clicker. So teach us to number our days. So teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart, or that we might get a heart of wisdom. Do you have a heart of wisdom? If you have a heart of wisdom, you're going to be living as if you only have 1 more hour to live. You're going to be living as if you have 1 more minute to live. You don't know, none of us know how to live our lives. And so we've got to number our days. We've got to make sure that every single day counts. So how many days do you have left to live? 10% of your life? Is it over? Or do you have 10% left? Maybe you can look at yourself and say, you know what, I'm in my 40s, or I'm in my 50s, or I'm in my 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. And you might realize that your body is aged, but your mind is still young. But things are breaking down, and that's telling you you're not going to live here forever. And God has destined it for us so that we wouldn't live forever, because he realized we were evil. And so realizing that, he says, number your days. So literally think, if I had 1 hour left to live, what would I do? What do I do different? If I knew for sure in 1 hour's time I would die, who is it that I would need to forgive? I would need to pick up the phone and make it right with somebody. Who is it that I would want to bless? You know, that's how you should live your life. Because literally that is what it is. We have no idea how many more days we have. A young college lady in her late teens was starting her college year, and her college roommate overheard her saying, this is going to be a beautiful year. She said, well, how can you say this is going to be a beautiful year? You can't see the future. She said, no, but I've determined that every single day of this year that I will do one thing that is beautiful. By doing that, you could say it's going to be a beautiful year. So let's start that. Let's start always in our minds knowing that our days are limited and we need to count our days so that we might have or gain a heart of wisdom. Secondly, how about keeping your heart lit? What do I mean by that? Keep your heart lit. Daryl, you know that song? Give me oil in my lamp, keep me burning, burning, burning. Give me oil in my lamp, I pray, right? Sing Hosanna. It's a beautiful song. But what does it mean to keep the lamp lit? What does it mean to keep oil burning and your extra oil? And well, for that you need to turn to Matthew chapter 25. Matthew chapter 25 starts with the word then, which means you need to know what goes on in Matthew chapter 24. And I don't have time to introduce Matthew 24 or even this verse for you, so maybe tonight in our study when we get together and we discuss a little bit more, maybe we can look at Matthew 24. Maybe we'll find out that verses 1 through 35 of Matthew 24 is actually talking about the destruction of Jerusalem. Maybe we'll find out that there were actually signs to show when the temple will be destroyed. Maybe we can look today and say, you know what, there still isn't a temple in Jerusalem, even though Jerusalem is the capital city of Israel. So thoroughly that temple was destroyed. God said, or Jesus said, you know, if you're pregnant, you're going to have a hard time. He said, if it's a Sabbath day, I pray that it's not a Sabbath day, because if somebody's shouting out, the Romans are coming, the Romans are coming, they're going to besiege the city, and the gates are closed because there's a Sabbath day, we're going to be trapped. You know that not one Christian was known to have died when Jerusalem was destroyed? Because they knew the signs. But then from verse 36 to the end, it talks about the second coming of the Lord when he comes again to take us to be with him and the final judgment. And he says for that there's going to be no warning. And so he gives us this parable following on that second coming and final judgment. He says there are 10 virgins. Now, he could have said 20, 100, didn't matter. He just needed to have a number that could be equally divided by 2. And so there's 5 wise and there's 5 foolish. So there's bridegrooms here, and their job, you know, bridegroom's job is to keep the bride calm and passive. The bride is the church. The bridegroom, is the bridesmaids will keep the bride calm. The bridegroom is Jesus. And what happens is they're waiting for the bridegroom to come, but he doesn't come. They've got their lamps. Now, can you imagine if we all came here with headlights, right? These little things that you can put on your head, and we have batteries, Duracell batteries that will last. How long do you think a party like that would last? 5 hours? You know, you're like 7 o'clock, and you surely by 5 o'clock, by 5 hours, by midnight, we would have already had the wedding feast, and we'd already be walking home. We'd have enough battery to walk home. So maybe having fresh Duracell batteries in these little headlights would be okay. But now 50%, and this is speaking to the church. Jesus is the bridegroom, the church is the bride. The lamps, we don't know what the oil in the lamps are. For each one of us, that's going to be something different. But everyone's got enough oil and lamp to be there, so it's talking about the church. 50% of us have spare Duracell batteries in our pockets. We have spare oil. 50% doesn't. And so what happens is, at midnight, because he's delayed, some people will go to sleep. In fact, most people will go to sleep. And what does that mean? What does it mean when it says we go to sleep? It means we die, right? So most Christians are going to die. They're going to go to sleep. And then all of a sudden, the whole church is going to be woken up. And we're going to hear, the bridegroom is coming, the bridegroom is coming, the bridegroom is coming. We're going to wake up and, we're going to look around and we're going to notice something. All our lights are starting to flicker. So half of us who have got spare oil will put it in our lamps and we'll keep it burning, right? Keep it burning till the break of day. We'll keep it burning. And then the other half, they're going to say, well, we need more batteries. And we're going to say, hey, Chris, do you have batteries over there? Chris says, yes, he's got some batteries. Doesn't have many, so you need to run. And half of you are going to run there, and Chris, you're going to jack up the price real quick, right? Because it's a very rare commodity. And while half of us running that way, what's going to happen is the bridegroom is going to open the door, and the bride and the bridesmaids are going to run in, and they're going to close the door before the rest can come back. But because we've been worshiping all these years together, we know the Messiah. So we knock on the door, and that is what happens in verses 10 and 11 and 12. So let me read just those verses for you. And while they were going to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the marriage feast, and the door was shut. So just to catch you up a little bit here, this is not a Western marriage. This is an Eastern marriage. So in an Eastern marriage, the parents decide on who you're going to get married to, and then a bride's price is paid. In Africa, it's called a bola, where you pay for cattle. You give the future father-in-law cattle, and if he's happy with that, then you're going to be married. Only with the Eastern wedding, it's going to be at least a year. So for a year, you're not sleeping together, you're not intimate, but you are committed to each other. You've got a contract with each other, and the bridal price has been paid. And so that is what happened. The bridegroom has paid the price. Many of us are going to fall asleep, but then we're going to wake up, and 50% of us will not be ready. And so we're going to come to the door, and we're going to knock on the door. Afterwards, verse 11, afterwards the other virgins came also saying, Lord, Lord, open to us. But he answered, truly I say to you, I do not know you. That's because your soul didn't survive. Right in year. You couldn't sing anymore. You couldn't have a prayer on your lips and a song in your heart. You felt something was missing, but you never did something about it. For each one of us, that might be happening right now. We might not be right with God. And you know what we're saying? Well, I'm going to fix it sometime. Right? Oh my, who should I pick on here? Has any of the parents ever asked their children to clean up the room? And the parents said, yes, I'll do it, for sure I'm going to do it in a little while, right? Could you please take the garbage out? Oh yes, I'm going to. Oh, some of the parents are actually looking at the kids right now. Can you take the garbage out? For sure I'm going to do it, but guess what? Never gets done. There's only one time to do something. When is it? Right now. Right now. When I met Oween before we were even dating, she had a sign and it was right there on her bedroom, and it said, if you don't have time to do it now, you will never have time to do it. Something like that. I remember that. So I pretty much know, it's probably a mother or dad wrote those words and put it on the sign on the door there, and she knew you only have one time to do that. You have to do it right now. But he answered, truly I say to you, I do not know you. Verse 13, watch therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour. Isn't it good to plan? You think it's good to plan? Glenn, I wonder what your life will be like if you didn't plan. Glenn is so busy. He and Rosie have done so much work over here. It's amazing. I'll come all hours of the night or day, and they'll be working. So it takes a lot of planning to do something like that. So it's really good to plan. How about this? This guy, Ed and Nancy Woodyard, they decided that in 1983, they decided on the millennial turn of the century, 1999, they want to be on New York City Square, and they want to be in a hotel there, and so they contacted the Marriott Marquis. And the Marriott Marquis said, sure, we'll book you up. And so they booked them into the 14th floor, and they were there with their 2 children. Here's the deal. When they called, their 2 children weren't there. They didn't exist yet. The Marriott Marquis didn't exist, and they didn't know if they would be alive. Yet they planned, and they actually made it with their 2 kids. Isn't that great? That's a great story, right? But they planned to be there for a what? A party, right? And I'm saying, let's plan for something better. I really like Jeanette Maxey's plan. She wrote, and I got this off her Facebook page, tomorrow morning I would like it to be June the 5th, 2021, and to awaken in the guest room of my mom's house to the birds singing and the laughter of cousins and the running through the house with the dog. Alas, someday. You can hear her brain ticking over. She's planning, and I like that plan a lot more than planning for a party on New York Times Square. But we all need to plan. That's the whole idea. So in your mind, number your days. They're limited. In your heart, keep your heart lit. Don't ever let this heart go out. It can go out so easily. And once it's out, it's so hard to get it back. I mean, because of our pride and our selfishness. It's actually easy. You just have to repent and ask the elders to pray with you, or just you yourself confess to God, and you can change your life. Not that hard, but it can be done. But what about our hands, right? So your hands is like this. So if you have your Bibles, turn to 1 Corinthians chapter 15, and look with me at verses 51 and 52. Behold, I tell you a mystery. We shall not all sleep. Now, what does sleep mean? Remember, that's dying. That's going to be with Jesus. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed. Now, some of us are going to be alive when Jesus comes, but some of us will be sleeping when he comes. It says, in a moment. That Greek word moment there is atomos. We get our English word atom. And the reason for that word atom being used there is because atom was the one thing that was believed could not be split. It is so tiny. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet. For the trumpet will sound, and the dead will be raised, imperishable, and we shall all be changed. It's just so very, very quick. For many years now, my father-in-law has always ended all his letters with this, all his correspondence, till the trumpet sounds. So this has been uppermost in my minds for many years. I wonder what it's going to sound like. Will it be an actual trumpet? I don't know, but I know the sound will be a trumpet, and I know we will all hear it, and I know from 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 that some of us will rise up to meet God in the air and so on, and it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful moment that this is all going to be taking place. But wouldn't it be sad if we didn't learn to live numbering? If we didn't learn to live lit? If we didn't learn to live listening? See, this is all about thinking about the eternal things. Now, I'm kind of find it interesting as I get older. I look at other people who are also getting older. They seem to be more into looking at what's going to eventually happen. But when I look at the younger generation, they live as if they're going to live forever, and that's just not true. We're not going to live forever. We're not designed, our bodies aren't designed to do that. So this is just something to help you through the new year. You can use it as a resolution, you can use it as a covenant, you can use it as a filter. Just take every thought captive to the obedience of Christ so that you might be able to do it correctly. You know, I really think about those 5 virgins. The bridesmaids, helpers, or bridesmaids that are going to try to come in, they can't. And to me, it's like seeing the church, all of us waking up, and we look and we see 50% of people that we love are going in and 50% are not going in. Just because of a simple mistake, something preparation, something extra we didn't do. And then I think back on how many people over the years, Christians, I've thought about and I've seen do some extraordinary things. It's just like wow, amazing people that do these things. There's a group of girls, they from Argentina recently, this is about 2017 I believe. They got selected by their national basketball team to play against their major rivals, Colombia. And they numbered the days until they would be going, right? They felt in their hearts a light and on fire for Argentina, their country, their flag. And all they wanted to hear is the time when they would hear that whistle and it would indicate the game has started, but Bill, they didn't have the right uniforms. And there really wasn't time for them to go and change to another uniforms. And they were banned. Can you imagine how sad these people were? I wonder if they were angry. But if they were angry, who could they have been angry with? Any one of them could have looked at the preparation that would be needed. They could have seen, Colombia has dark blue and we have navy blue. Surely there's going to be a problem here. They could have figured out, anyone could have figured it out, but nobody really was thinking at that level of preparation. But yet you have to. 4 o'clock this morning, our phone rang, and it was Deween's brother, and the siblings were all online. They were talking together, and they couldn't get Deween's dad online. And they would hear at that moment that their mother is in active death, is what they called it. 2 hours later, the phone rang again, and it was to say, your mother has passed, and the siblings were online. And again, like I did last week, when I heard Deween's mother's soprano voice ring, that was the day we got married, and it was, oh Lord, and that beautiful voice, I could hear it. But this time, it was the time she was sitting right about there where Deween was sitting. We were all sitting there together as a family, and it wasn't too long ago, right here in this building. And the song I could hear her singing, and I've heard her sing the song many times, was I'll Fly Away. And that can be you and I. We can sing that. She was a preacher's wife. She lived a faithful life. Faithful Christian life. Went far beyond the call of duty. Was one of those ladies that just could help the church grow, and was with her husband on the mission field, started a church going there. Just a really, really wonderful soul. And she has a reward right now. She's where she needs to be. And you know what? That's what we need to realize. This isn't a shock. This isn't something for us to struggle or battle with too much, because this is something that all of us should be heading towards. But the question is, are we prepared? Are we prepared? What do you need to do? What do you need to change? If you've got your oil and you've got your lamp, then you've been baptized. If you haven't been baptized, you don't have your oil yet, and you don't have your lamp. If the oil is the Holy Spirit and the lamp is your faith, let's say, and you put those two together and you have baptized with water and the Spirit. If you don't have that, then that's where you need to start. But if there's something else, if you're lost right now, then realize that is what we're trying to do. It's as if God is imploring through us, saying, listen, come back. Whatever you need to do, wherever you are right now, please answer this invitation by coming forward as together we stand and sing.